Welcome to the Good Read series. Today, we're diving into a book that was an absolute cultural phenomenon, one that pretty much changed the conversation about relationships for millions of people. I'm talking about John Gray's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So let's get into it.
It's a question I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. You love your partner, you have nothing but the best intentions, but somehow you still end up arguing, feeling misunderstood, and you just can't seem to get on the same page. Well, the book's big answer is this. The problem isn't usually a lack of love. It's a fundamental lack of understanding.
And that brings us to the core idea of the whole book, this powerful metaphor. The thinking goes like this. Men and women aren't just a little different. They're so different that they might as well be from separate planets. We think differently, we feel differently, we react differently, and the whole point is, if we can just remember that our partner is basically an alien from another world, we can stop trying to change them into being more like us, and instead, start learning how to navigate those differences.
All right, so to really get a grip on this, we're going to break down 5 key ideas from the book. First, we'll look at the foundational story, then how we each handle stress, why our communication gets so messed up, what we really need emotionally, and finally, this really interesting idea about the different ways we score points in love.
So let's start at the beginning. The book kicks off with this little fairy tale. It says that long, long ago, Martians, the men, looked through their telescopes and saw the Venusians, the women. They were fascinated, they fell in love, flew to Venus, and everything was perfect. They celebrated their differences. But then, they all decided to come to Earth, and when they got here, something went wrong. They woke up with what the book calls selective amnesia.
And this quote really sums it up. The central argument is that the reason we have so much conflict today is that we've just forgotten that we're supposed to be different. We expect our partners to think like us, feel like us, and react like us. And when they don't, we get frustrated and disappointed instead of getting curious and trying to understand.
Okay, so this brings us to one of the biggest friction points in any relationship, how we deal with stress. According to the book, this is a super common battleground, and it all comes down to 2 totally opposite natural instincts.
So, when a guy is stressed, his instinct is to pull away into what the book calls his cave. It's this mental space where he can be alone, focus, and figure out a solution to the problem. That's what makes him feel better. But for a woman, relief comes from the exact opposite. She needs to talk about her feelings, explore all the details, and feel heard by someone she trusts. I mean, you can see the problem right away, can't you? He pulls away to fix things, she wants to talk to connect. He thinks he's being responsible, but she feels like he's shutting her out.
And that total disconnect leads us right into our next point, why it so often feels like we're speaking completely different languages. It's not just about the words we choose, it's about why we're using them in the first place. The book argues that men and women use language for totally different reasons.
This is the perfect example of that miscommunication. A woman might say something dramatic like, "We never go out anymore." Now, she doesn't mean that as a literal, factual statement. She's using language to express a feeling, the feeling of wanting to connect, of missing him. But what does he hear? He often hears a factual complaint. That is incorrect. So he responds with a fact. "That's not true. We went out last Tuesday." He totally misses the emotional message, and suddenly she feels unheard, and he feels like he's being unfairly criticized.
And this also explains why silence can be such a minefield. When a man goes quiet, especially during a tense moment, he's often just retreating to his cave to think things through. He's not trying to punish her. But for a woman who connects by talking, that silence can feel like a brick wall. It can feel like the ultimate rejection, a sign that he just doesn't care.
So we handle stress differently. We speak different languages. Well, it turns out the book also argues that we have fundamentally different primary emotional needs. These are the things we absolutely have to truly feel loved.
Now, according to Gray, one of the biggest mistakes we make is that we tend to give the kind of love that we want to receive. So a woman might show her love by offering a lot of caring and unsolicited advice. But for a man who really needs to feel trusted and accepted, that caring can actually feel like she doesn't believe in his ability to handle things. And on the flip side, a man might think he's showing love by giving her space to cool down, when what she really needs in that moment is his caring and understanding.
All right, this brings us to one of the most famous and, honestly, most practical ideas in the whole book. It's the concept that men and women keep score in relationships in completely different ways.
Get this. A man often thinks that the size of the gesture matters most. He plans a big, expensive vacation and thinks, okay, that's got to be worth at least 30 points. But for a woman, every single gift of love gets 1 point. Just 1. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. That huge vacation, 1 point. A single rose he brought home for no reason? Also 1 point. So you see the problem, right? He might do one huge thing and think he's winning, while she feels like the score is actually really low because all the small, daily gestures are missing.
So the huge takeaway here is that all these little things really are the big things. For a woman, a steady stream of these one-point gestures, like asking about her day, a random hug, or offering to help with something, is what creates that feeling of being consistently loved and treasured. It's the consistency, not the size of the gesture, that fills up her emotional tank.
So when you boil it all down, the entire Mars/Venus idea is designed to get us to this one simple place. It's a call to action, to replace all that frustration with a sense of fascination, to stop judging our partners for not being more like us, and instead to actually make an effort to learn their language, understand their unique needs, and appreciate them for exactly who they are.
And that really leaves us with a final question to think about. Whether you agree with every single detail in this book or not, the core message that we should recognize and respect our fundamental differences is a pretty powerful tool for compassion. So how might this way of thinking shift the way you approach the people you love? Thank you for listening to this Good Reads episode.